and welcome to Nourish Support Centre podcast. My name is Lynne Scott, I'm the CEO for Nourish.
Hi, I'm Stacey Donaldson and I'm the Family Support Manager.
And I'm Vicki Rennie, I'm the Community Hub Manager.
Thanks both for joining me today. This is our first podcast, so it's a bit exciting, isn't it? Just not sure what we're doing, but we'll wing it and we'll get there, yeah. For anybody that doesn't know about Nourish, I suppose we should talk about who we are as an organisation. So we've been running in Kirkcaldy for almost 12 years now, supporting families in Fife with additional support needs. And we're here today in our Family Support Centre. We run lots of different projects, lots of different services. And I thought maybe, Stacey, you could maybe start talking about what you do in your role.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm based mainly up at our Support Centre in Elizabeth House. And we have activities running Monday to Friday, things like Happy Mondays for adults with additional support needs and their carers. We have after school clubs, family support groups, crafty carers, anime clubs, anything that people who attend our groups want to have in the centre. So we respond to the likes of our members and the things that they'd like to do, and wherever possible we create those opportunities for them.
I think that's great that we've got such a good range of services. I think when you think back to how we started and we just had a parent support group, which was great and it was brilliant, but it just didn't suit everybody's needs, didn't it? Because everybody's looking for something a bit different. And because we try to accommodate the whole family, it's so good that you speak to people and find out what it is that they're looking for.
That's right. So this week, for example, After School Club, it's our last one before the holidays. So it was really great fun, but I took the opportunity to ask kids, what do you want to do during the summer? What activities would you like to see? So we're constantly adapting and changing. So term time, we have one programme. Now we're moving on to our summer programme, and it'll be packed with things that people have asked for, as well as new experiences that they might not have thought of. So it's just getting the balance and having new and exciting things, as well as things that we know people want to come to.
That's brilliant. What do you think is our most in-demand service that you run up here?
I would say Happy Mondays, which is a service for adults with additional support needs and their carers. We have 2 sessions a week at the moment, and both are currently full. So we've just changed our space to accommodate a few more people in each session because the demand is so high. But yes, I'd say that's probably our highest, our most in-demand service.
And what kind of things do you do on Happy Mondays?
So mainly arts and crafts, board games, but again, people can ask us for specific things. So on Monday, we just had some of our members making kites. They'd asked if they could make a kite, and it wasn't something that I could do with the resources we had. So we ordered some bits and pieces, and that's what we were doing on Monday, and they managed to make them and they were flying them outside by the end of the session. So so that was really good. But weekly there could be things like sand art, sequin art, lots of things really.
Lots of crafty things.
Yeah,
so Mark always comes home with lots of different fridge magnets and little wooden things that he'll make, and we've got our garden has actually got lots of little like birdhouses that he's made in here. So Mark really enjoys it, and it's good for friendships as well as anything else, building friendships.
I think you're right, and I think services have changed so much at the moment, in particular day services. So this is an opportunity I find for people who maybe used to socialise together more often, but their day service has changed. So this is a place that they can still meet up with their friends, maybe people that they only see now at Happy Mondays, but as well as making new friendships.
Mark gets to see some of his old carers as well, which is nice, who have maybe moved on to like Richmond or, you know, they've gone to different places. So he will actually come home and tell me that he's seen his friend, and it's been one of his previous carers.
That's really lovely. And how old is Mark now?
Mark's 27 now.
27 now, wow. That's crazy.
But his favourite day is a Monday. So, and he really likes that Stacey gives him his lunch.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So it's really good that he's provided a lunch like for them to take away. So
and it's so important that he's choosing to come, that he's enjoying that it's his choice. It's not a case of a carer trying to find somewhere to fill the time of the person they're caring for.
Well, he actually got offered to do, I think it was cooking. So Mark does like cooking, but they gave him the option. Well, they gave me the option, and I said to give it to Mark because it was his day, so he could do what he liked with it, sort of thing. So yeah, he picked Nourish. Didn't even breathe. Nourish. So yeah, he's quite adamant that this is where he goes on a Monday, so you can never close.
Oh, that's so nice to hear that. And again, although you're sort of jokingly saying, you can never close, again, that's something that we've adapted to with feedback, that actually a Happy Mondays won't stop over the school holidays, because the feedback is that is people's routine, that's what they look forward to. And actually to stop for 7 weeks over summer would be a huge break in routine. And so that's a good example of how we've adapted the service as we've gone and responded to the needs of our members.
That's so important.
Well, we've actually had to go away late on our holidays so he could come here first.
So that's actually a true story. Oh, that's really good. That's lovely to hear how much he enjoys it.
So we're
really
going
good.
late. Yeah.
And what is, if you don't mind sharing, what is Mark's diagnosis?
Mark has quite a few. So he is primarily autistic, ADHD. I'm not sure which. They're probably ADHD autistic. He's got tics. He's got global developmental delay. He was aggressive when he was younger, but he's sort of better now. Yeah, his global developmental delay makes him much younger in than his actual years. So he still believes in Santa, and he still gets his stocking out, and he's more excited about it than the other kids. And obviously Kaylee's not that for it now. She's but Logan and Mark, they get dead excited and wake up at like 2:00 in the morning. So
that's so nice. And that's something that we've all got in common, isn't it? That we've all got that lived experience of having a child with additional support needs, and the challenges that comes with that, and the rewards that come with that. And that's, I think, what makes Nourish what it is, isn't it?
Definitely.
That we get
very
it.
understanding.
Yeah.
I found that as when I was a volunteer.
Yeah.
So I found it really helpful that I could go to anybody, like whether it be a member or a staff member, and just, you could give me some good advice, or even sort of signpost me places to go, or even just say, I've been there.
It's not about having the answers, is it? It's about relating and knowing that you're not the only one going through that
and it's not just go here, just go there, or if you look this up, sometimes it's good just to say, I've been there, and are you okay? Yeah. What can I do to help?
Yeah. Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Yep.
Coffee.
Coffee, tea. Yeah. And I really like how, days are different. Look, so if we look at our family support groups, then some days we are all sharing our challenges or supporting each other, and other days actually everybody's just having a chat and being with friends and making new friendships, because it can be so isolating having a child with additional support needs, that coming along and just being together.
I find that in the hub, because the hub's much bigger than the centre. There's lots of tables, so to start with, people sort of stuck to their table, and then I would just go round the tables, and I would try and sort of introduce them to the next table. But now when they go in, they're all sort of just clumped together,
That's really nice.
So they sort of bring, they just come in and all sit, and everybody can just have a wee chat. And if there's somebody new, then they'll go and talk to that person. So it works out really well.
The community hub's really evolved as well, isn't it? I know when we first opened the community hub, we wanted an information service, and we wanted to signpost people about not just our organisation, but all the other fantastic organisations that are out there. And hopefully in future podcasts we'll be able to bring in some of those organisations to chat about what they do. But it's become so much more now, hasn't it? It's really become a really big important part of the community.
And it's open to everybody. That's what's really important. It's open to anybody that's needing to come in, or needing a chat, or just needing a space to be. Just even use the internet. And it's really good that there's so many different organisations coming in there, as well as different people in the community. There's so much help available now in the hub. It's really good, from everything, from like even help with rent. Rent arrears, or Lead Scotland doing all their stuff's really good.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that's in the Mercat Shopping Centre, for anybody who doesn't know, as well as our charity shop. We still have people coming into the community hub thinking we're part of the charity shop,
daily,
don't we?
Daily come in and say, have you got any trainers, hen?
Yeah.
No, but we do have coffee.
Lots of coffee and lots of biscuits. So I've also got a child with it. I've got 2 children with additional support needs. So Adam will be 23 this year, and Adam was born with a life-shortening condition. And as you both know, we got told very early on that Adam probably would die as a child. And we've been so lucky that actually, you know, here he is, 22, healthy, doing really well. Certainly not without challenges over the years. And my 16-year-old has ADHD and ADD and fibromyalgia, so lots of challenges there. And my youngest is also on the pathway, so there's a lot going on. And just going through that process, when Adam was diagnosed, I found it so lonely, so isolating. When Adam was a baby, you know, my friends had children similar ages, and they were all walking and talking and meeting all their milestones and going to play dates, and I couldn't do that. And it's having people like you guys to be able to connect with and know that I'm not the only person out there, that there are other parents out there going through that challenge. Our children are all individual, but we as parents all have that experience. I think it's been so good for me, but it's been so good at pulling Nourish forward and putting into it what we can, because we have got that lived experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think for me, I was a member before I was a member of staff. And I think I used to think that my son had sort of more hidden disabilities.
Yeah.
So he was diagnosed with autism and Tourette syndrome, and can hold in his tics to a certain degree, but they will always have to come out. So a lot of his behaviours were at home because he'd been holding everything in all day. And so I felt like he had hidden disabilities, or a disability that was so much lesser than other people's. But one thing that always struck me as a member of Nourish was that I was never made to feel like I was making a mountain out of a molehill. It was a big deal to me. It was a huge deal to me, and that was okay. And somebody else's child may have a different disability, and it could be a physical disability or a learning disability, but actually there was a great understanding between everybody that it is hard, it is tough, it doesn't matter what your child's additional support need is.
That's your child.
And it's that extra challenge that you have that other families perhaps don't have. And so that was something that always struck me. It is for everybody. And I remember first coming along thinking, oh gosh, but you know, my child's he's not really that bad, he doesn't really need that much support. But actually it made my life, the home at life was
that support.
I needed that support. And I've never been made to feel like, you know, my child's disability wasn't as, or I wasn't as deserving of the support as other people. Everybody is the same.
Absolutely.
And that is so important. And so now being a member of staff, it's nice to give back. It's nice to give back to the charity that gave me the same understanding. And
I totally agree. Like I was the same when I joined Nourish. I actually joined for my daughter, who we suspected was autistic, but we didn't know. It was just, there was, the school kept saying it, and I just thought she was rude and didn't like food very much. So, and because she was so different from my son, it was I couldn't really see it. So now when I look back, I see it. Like, it just, like, even videos of her as a toddler, I can see it now. But because she was so different and not as obvious, you know, not as... And because she's a girl, and autism in girls is so different. So I joined Nourish because I thought it was for kids. And it wasn't until I got here that I found out, no, actually, it's for everybody. So that's when my son joined, and he's never looked back. So he's probably accessed all your services.
You know, that I think that is a common misconception sometimes. People join us to see what activities they can bring their child to.
Or for food.
For food parcels. And actually, we're here to support the whole family. And the family support group, Stacey, you can talk about that, but many parents come along without their children because they want that time for themselves.
That's right. And I think it is so important. And we always say, you know, you can come to family support group by yourself if you need that space, and maybe you need to talk freely without your children overhearing. But equally, if you have a homeschooled child, or if you have a child that doesn't always get into school that day, don't miss your family support group. It's so important. It's important for you as well as your children, and, you know, just having that bit of you time. And we like to call them micro breaks that we offer at Nourish. So parents, carers are still in the building, but we have children's play workers who can entertain your children. So you can even get 20 minutes, half an hour having a cup of tea. You can have that chat with another parent who you know, what they say might just make the world of difference to you. So yeah, our family support groups, they work really well. They're really flexible. Like you say, you can come by yourself, but equally you don't have to miss your group if your child's not in school that day, as long as they're not off because they're unwell.
Yeah.
But if you've just not managed to get them in because you find school tricky, then, you know, the group's still for you.
So I found it really anxious. So I when I very first started, I found, you know, it was something new. I hadn't been, so I wasn't really too sure what to expect. So I found the actual group chat that we've got really handy, because I didn't know many people here, so then I was joined the group chat first, and sort of got to know people, like names. So you would sort of name and then talk to other people, and they had so much information, even about things that you could go to, things that you could join, even just like funds that were available. You know, that you could.
How amazing are our parents at sharing information?
They know
so
everything,
yeah.
and so the group chat, I think, is equally as important as the groups, because for the people that are unsure, maybe have anxiety, maybe don't like travelling, they can still be included and still join in, and we can ask lots of questions, you know, like especially about homeschooling. There's quite a lot of people that ask questions about homeschooling, and other people can sort of say, oh well, actually I've tried, or if you want to do this you can go there. So I find that really helpful.
And equally, as Stacey was saying, if it's because your child's at home unwell, or you're by a hospital bedside, or whatever your reason is that you're not able to come into the group, at least you've still got that access to get that adult conversation and reach out to somebody. That's so
and
good.
just a little bit of help.
Yeah, definitely.
Or just a distraction.
And I suppose once you came along to the group then, and you'd been in the first time, because it's always so daunting coming into a group for the first time, isn't it? We've all been there, but I think it's important to stress how relaxed it is here, how relaxing and welcoming.
It was so chilled. I still remember even what I was wearing the first day I came in.
Yeah, what were you wearing?
I had shorts. I had denim shorts on. I was super cool. It was summertime, and I had a denim shorts on, and I had like a drop arm vest on. And Amy went, "I like your style." And I was like, "Thanks."
And you knew you'd found your place.
I was like, "What up?" But it was really nice and just so friendly and cosy, and I think that's something that we try to put out everywhere we are. You know, we like homely, we like cosy. You know, it's
welcoming, safe,
and so I think from the second I got here, I was just like, this is my place. I like it.
That's really good. And there's a group on now as we're chatting, the Pain Support Group. So that's quite a new group for us, isn't it? That's only been running a few months.
Yeah, that's right. And it's allowing us to support it's allowing us to support adults who maybe have chronic pain conditions. So again, that's hopefully bringing us some new members, and it's something just for the adults and somebody they can share. Often the experts in these things are the people themselves.
And there's no waiting list. More importantly, there's no waiting list for pain management. I believe there's quite a long waiting list, is there not? So at least here they can come immediately and get support and advice from people.
And again, that's not a professional advice. It's not professionals here. It's people with managing their own conditions and sharing hints and tips with each other on how they cope day to day, and actually just sharing that burden.
And you know, there's such a kind, caring group of people, and they have a group chat as well.
That's right. So
so again, if you can't attend the group because your pain level is just so high, there is always somebody to chat in the group chat. So actually I think it works so well, and like I say, it's something for the adults, and it's something a bit different. You know, it's something that I'm learning a lot about just through running the group. There's lots of conditions that'll, you know, cause you chronic pain and fatigue, and it's been quite interesting for me to learn about these things as well. We're always learning about new conditions or something that we've not come across before.
What's the age? Is it 16 plus?
It is 16 plus, and I think that works well because people can talk freely. They can talk freely about their experiences and about treatments that they've maybe found useful,
or not.
I suppose one of the other things then that we've not really chatted about is how having a disability, whether that's yourself or your child, how it impacts your family. We're talking about the whole family support, and we have all these support groups, but Vicki, your food support project obviously plays a really huge role in supporting people as well. We know that often parents and carers are not able to work because of their caring responsibilities, and other carers that are working are still finding things financially difficult
Really hard.
because it impacts you so much more.
I think there's so many extra bills as well that you don't actually think about when you've got somebody with additional support needs in your family that you are caring for. So over the winter, heating obviously was the big one. So a lot of people were having to choose between food and heat, but they can't have the heat off, because if they have the heat off, then that person could potentially die. You know, if they could get
become
so
really unwell
cold,
from,
and because you know, especially if that person doesn't move around a lot, you know, they're not generating any heat, so you know, they've had to put their heating on. And then there's the other costs that you don't think about, like my son, he chews all his clothes, so he actually puts holes in all of his like, what do you call that bit? The hems.
The hem, neckline.
Neckline. So every neckline he's got little holes in, and obviously you don't want your kids walking about looking like scruffs, or you know, or some kids bite the cuffs. You know, or they put holes in them, things like that, breaking things. You know, they can get so frustrated, and all that anger's got to go somewhere, so they'll break like beds or their furniture. So you've got all these costs. Mark's trainers. Sorry, I said his name.
It's all right.
But he's 27, it's fine. But for him, it's trainers, because he walks so much with his carers every day, because that's how they manage his sort of energy. And so he walks. So he goes through a pair of trainers every 8 weeks. You know, and
that's so expensive.
And it's so expensive. And because he's such a big, he's like an 11, so you can't really get... Like, and if you buy cheap trainers, they last like 2 weeks and they just fall apart. So you've got to buy them a decent set, you know. So all these extra costs. So foods.
For me, with my son, it was he had really bad reflux. So washing constantly. So it's extra washing powder, it's extra electricity, it's extra tumble drying, it's extra time. It's everything,
Extra
and then
sheets
extra sheets, and then your clothes only last so long, don't they? And if you're washing more often than you're needing to, and you're going through several changes a day, it's
a lot.
It does really, So then
that takes away your food
support.
bill. So that's why we've got the food support service, and we don't just do a food support service. We do a clothing bank, do a hygiene bank, and we do a baby bank. So we can support people with all these things. So there's, you know, it does help with their bills, and it means that they could spend it on what they need to be. And then in the summertime, you know, I just feel that maybe people aren't putting their gas and electric on, but it would allow them to then go and do things as a family, you know. And I think memories and family time are equally as important, you know. Like,
of course it
so
is,
even just buying them an ice cream, or going on the bus to the beach, or going to the zoo, things like that. So it's freeing up a bit of their finances for that, which is just, you know, really,
so
really
important.
important.
Is that quality time so important?
Yeah.
And all these things are things that people don't probably realise, are they? Because if you're not in that situation, you may not understand.
That's right. And I often say as well that I want people to know that if you're working and you need to use our food bank, our food support, then please do, because I think we could probably all understand that we live within our means. Now, by saying that, you could be living within your means 2 years ago, and you might have been able to afford the card that you've committed to for 3 years to pay up. Your bills were covered, your food shop was covered. Fast forward 2 years and everyone's food bill's gone up, they're committed to this car payment, but actually their gas and electricity has gone up. So I do always stress to people not to think that because you're working we can't support you, that we do understand that people committed themselves to things when perhaps money wasn't so tight, or perhaps, you know, their child has had a diagnosis in that time and one of them's had to stop working, but you're committed to these
you've already taken on that,
mobile phone payments, you know, things that you could say are luxuries, but how do we get around without our cars? How do we stay in touch with people without our mobile phones? So it's one of these things that'd be great if we could do without them, but actually sometimes we can't.
They are necessities.
And as much as, you know, we always obviously encourage people to live within their means, I think we could all appreciate that over the last few years that's changed considerably. You know, what you might have been able to afford a few years ago and what you can afford now.
Even your food shop. The food shop is the amount of... And then if you've got allergies, you know, like you'll know yourself having to buy almond milk and like dairy, like for me it's dairy free, for you it's vegan, you know, and the cost of that is just unbelievable. And both of us do that for health reasons. You know, it's not a choice. So trying to keep up with those is really hard.
It is, definitely. So I suppose it is important to mention, though, that the food support service is only for registered members, not anybody in the community, but we can also signpost to other food banks for anybody that's looking for that. Yeah. But I love how you do it. I love the feeling that people have of not being judged because they have to use that food support service, that we're all in it together, everybody's,
And people that have been a bit wary in the beginning are definitely, I've got like one person who was really embarrassed, like so embarrassed about doing it. They wanted to come separately and didn't want anybody to see them. And now they're actually not that, I think because she's come in and seen different people and different, just the different,
not feeling that judgment
and just thinking actually, there's lots of people here in the same boat and it's not embarrassing, it's not anything to be judged. So I think that's important.
We had a discussion about that last year, when the cost of living crisis was obviously still a big thing, but when it was really at its peak, and it's okay to ask for help, and people, just what you're saying about that lady, some people really, really do struggle to ask for help, and of course we wish there wasn't a food bank needed, but there is, and that's the life that we're in. And the same as we're saying, don't come in here and be judged because of your condition or your child's condition. It's the same with it's all the same, isn't it?
We get like we had a new mum who was really worried because she thought her son was quite a lot. And she's like, it's, and I was just like, there's nothing I've not seen.
We're all here because we have that child that stands out.
Honestly, he is not going to do anything that I could be surprised by. So just come along and just dure that. And in the Habit didn't really work so well, but when they came up here in the smaller rooms, then it works better. So in that situation, up here's better for that person. But I just remember like the look on her face where you could actually see her relax a little when I said, look, I'm going to come on.
I think it's so nice, but I think what I would urge people to do is, if you think we could be the service for you, is come in and actually experience a group. It's, as Vicki says, it's so common for somebody to say, my child can be really unpredictable. I find it hard to take them out and about because I never know what they're going to do next. Or
I've got a lot of kids.
I've got a large family, and we're always stressing that it is for the whole family. So after school club isn't just for your child with additional support needs, it's for their siblings as well. And it's just I would encourage you to come in. We genuinely mean it. We want to have you here. It doesn't matter if there's behaviours that perhaps you find difficult or embarrassing. You absolutely will not be judged here. No. And we genuinely mean it, that we want you to come along. If we've got lots of children, that's fine. That's, we're here to support you as a parent or a carer, but also all of your children as well. So I would urge you to come in, and you'll soon realise that we genuinely mean that there's no judgment.
And we get it. That's what we always say about Nourish, we get it. I have been that parent sat in the middle of the Meerkat floor whilst my child is lying on their back, kicking and screaming. And it was actually, do you remember where the old swimming pool used to be? And it was the doors to go through there, so it was just outside those doors. So I had so many disgusted people walking round or stepping over us. And I thought, well, you're just going to have to do that, because whilst my child needs to lie here, I'm just going to sit on the floor with them until they're ready to move. So I've also been that parent taking them out of the swimming pool with just a towel wrapped round because they're kicking off and screaming, and trying to get from the swimming pool to the car was a challenge, but we've all been there, haven't we?
The person in Asda's who has also done that, we had to stop our shop because then one of them had a total absolute meltdown in the middle of Asda's, and I just thought, I can't do this. So we left the shopping trolley. I'm sorry, Asda's. And left the shopping trolley in the middle of an aisle and chased after my child, who was a wee back to the car. And obviously that night later on they said, what's for tea? And I says, well, it's still in the trolley in Asda's. So
Adam once vomited really, really badly. A really bad vomit, and of course he's in his wheelchair, and he's not able to come out of his wheelchair, so the vomit was everywhere, so they had to shut off either end of the aisle whilst Adam's carers were giving him suction and cleaning him and trying to make sure he was okay. And the staff are trying to be really supportive and clean up the mess, and it was
I do think places are getting better, aren't they?
Oh, definitely.
I think it's it's unfortunate that there will probably always be people who think that they can make a snap judgment on, you know, what's happening. But I hope places are getting better. I hope, you know, staff, at least within places, have got training and know when to offer a bit of support rather than a judgmental look.
Yeah, definitely things are getting better.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
There's always room for improvement.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Every person, wherever we went, that bear needs a slap. Everywhere.
Yeah, and it's so not the answer.
And it wasn't. I was just like, you just have to ride it out. And just
I used to
breathe.
have people looking at my son in his wheelchair and looks of sympathy and, is he okay? And then people look at my child who had behavioural difficulties and look with that judgmental look. And actually, they both deserve the same respect. They both have different disabilities that present very differently, but none of them are choosing to be the way that they are, or to, you know, that's who they are.
I don't even know if the
That's who they
sympathetic look's worse than the annoyed look, isn't it? Because you just think...
I used to... It doesn't happen so much now. I suppose, you know, Adam's older now, my son's older now, but I used to enjoy when people would ask me. I thought that was better than just someone approaching me and asking the question, especially encouraging their child to ask, because children are inquisitive, and I used to get so frustrated if a child was maybe staring at Adam because he looked differently, and the parent would kind of pull them away and say, don't stare. And I used to think, well, actually, no, it's okay. They're interested. You know, he looks a bit different to them. Come along, encourage them, say hi, ask the question, have a wee conversation. And not every parent feels that way. We're all different, but for me, that's definitely, I would much rather invite someone along to have that conversation.
Inclusion for me was a big thing, because like when my son was younger, because he was so wild, then I feel that he always missed out on that best friend. You know, like at school, and they would all have, and because the school was out with our area, so there was no kids coming knocking the door and asking if they could come in and play. Like, he wouldn't have been able to go outside and play himself, but he could have played in the garden, and I feel like he really missed out on that. And it did get a lot better when one of my friends moved along the end of the road, and so her kids played with Mark, and so that was really good. So he had they were quite a bit younger, but so was Mark mentally, so it was okay. So he just used to sit and play in the mud, and he was like 12 with like a 4-year-old.
But that was him.
But he was like, he was more into it than the 4-year-old. He was like, oh. And you know, like, so he just used to really like playing with them. But I always felt for him that he missed like the bestie, and then when he went to high school, he actually got one. So
did he? Oh, that's really good.
So he made like really good friends, and when he went to Lochgelly North,
he's got so many friends now, hasn't he?
He's very popular actually, and I think that's a nice thing, you know, if he was ever off, people would know and they would ask after him, and I think that's really nice.
And that really helped that though. So in lockdown, because we were all isolated, Mark's speech actually went. So from being able to hear him, like Mark's repeats a lot, so like you ask him, he will repeat a lot, but he actually got really bad mumbly and really difficult to understand, and that's because he was just got depressed. He was generally depressed, and when you opened your services back up before anything else, I was over the moon, because he was critical needs, so he got out for a walk, and that's all he was doing, come rain or shine or hailstones. He was out there walking, because that's all they could do. There was nowhere for them to sit in the Mercat. There was nowhere to, because they had to take all the chairs away. There was nowhere for them to go and have a cup of tea, because you know that wasn't allowed. So all he done for 3 hours was go for a walk. I mean, he was fit, but and then because it was just, he just didn't talk. So when he started coming here, his speech really started coming back again, and now it's back to what it was.
That's really good. And we've got quite a few people that come along, don't we, that's selective mute, and it's been really lovely, because recently some of them, those individuals have felt comfortable enough to speak, but whether they do or they don't, that doesn't matter. Yeah. They're coming along and they're enjoying being here, and they're part of our community. So
you're right, and again, that's part of the responding to people's needs is having smaller groups where need be, and actually that's just as important for that individual as attending a big group. It's still a social interaction, whether it's a group of 3 or a group of 16, and I really like that we've got the space to do that here. So it's not a huge centre, but it's perfect in that there's 4 different spaces that you can utilise. 5 really, as we've got the space in the middle as well, and we're creating a new space through the back, so we're adapting all the time, but certainly there's little areas that you can go and sit with just a couple of your friends, and what's perfect is our glass walls. So if you've not been into the support centre, you could be sitting in our comfy area having a cup of tea or coffee, and your child could have a sense of having a bit of space from you, and you a bit of space from your child. However, we've got glass walls looking into all of our spaces bar one, so there's that sense of being able to just keep a wee eye, and you know, if you're maybe an anxious parent or you're anxious about them interacting with other children and you're not sure how it's going to go, they can still have that little bit of space, but you can still see each other. I think it works really well.
It does work really well. It does. Oh, that's brilliant. So I think our time's a bit up now, so thank you both so much for coming along, and it'd be really good to come up with some ideas and suggestions for our next podcast.
Definitely.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and answers on a postcard.
We're so in tune.
If you would like to know more about the Nourish Support Centre, the links to their website and Facebook page are in the description. They can also be reached on 01592 653 639. The Nourish Support Centre podcast was presented by Lynne Scott, Vicki, Rennie and Stacey Donaldson. It was a Jacket Pocket Media production for the Nourish Support Centre.